Hi, welcome to the Shepherd's Rest Dog Talk. This is episode 100B.
I'm Cam, this is Julie.
Yes, this is the Haftarah discussion of this week's Torah portion, and it is found in 1 Samuel 11:14 through 12:22. And like we said in Cam's, for our, it's been 100, we tried to order a hurricane, but they're on back order, so we got a tropical storm rolling through.
Yeah, just
So here we go. We're going to try to get through this before it starts raining or the wind picks up or something.
Yeah, we don't know. Basically, a little patio furniture will fly here and there. Get some water. Put your furniture up on some blocks in case water comes in.
I went and got some batteries in case the power goes
there
out.
There you go. Got a little extra water and food.
But, like I said, it's not a hurricane, so there's no reason to panic.
No.
Oh! That's right. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Samuel. I don't think we've ever talked about Samuel before. If we have, I don't remember. But
right.
So after the children wandered through the wilderness, they went into the land. They were led by Joshua. Mm-hmm. Joshua was the leader of Israel at the time, and everyone looked to him for guidance and whatnot. And then after Joshua died, there was no central leadership anymore in Israel. They were just kind of a loose confederation, a tribal confederation, and they were run by local judges.
Yeah.
So you just had a little bit here, the tribes, and then each town or each tribe or whatever, you had your judges that everyone tend to flock to.
And then I may be wrong, but didn't they have, when they had a national judge, it was the one, he became the strongest of the time of all the judges? Like, you have seen,
yes, and we're going to talk about that.
Okay,
yeah.
Deborah and Gideon and all them. Okay.
Yes. Now, what these judges did was they administered Torah law.
Okay.
And it says that everyone did what was right in their own eyes. Right? And we've always like, oh, that's such a bad thing. But not necessarily, because Samuel did what was right in his eyes. It just happened to be what was right in the Lord's eyes.
Okay. Which we know that.
And Gideon and some other of the judges that we're going to talk about, Deborah, did what was right in her eyes. The reason I'm saying that is because they didn't have any kind of central government that said, nope, this is right and this is wrong. It was just, no, this is how we're interpreting this. No, this is how we're interpreting this. This is how we're interpreting this.
But they're all interpreting Torah. They're all interpreting the same instructions.
Right.
It's not like they have different books. I guess really that comes more later when they start to get the king, and then they get the two kings, and then that's probably where it goes more south for the north.
Yes, that's exactly. The north goes south. Now, without this central leadership, it was very difficult to enforce the Torah's prohibitions on idolatry and the temple worship, the tabernacle worship, all of these different things, because, like I said, they're scattered all over. The Lord has not yet established his place where everyone will go 3 times a year for their central location. Jerusalem has not been established yet.
Where his name has been placed is not official yet.
So right now it's in Shiloh, all right? And we know that Shiloh is north of Jerusalem.
Correct.
All right? And where this particular Torah portion takes place is 4 miles south of Shiloh.
Okay.
All right, this is where we're going to see the coronation of Saul, his second coronation, because he was coronated once and no one took it seriously.
Yeah.
And then he rose up, defeated the Philistines, and now he's being coronated again.
Which actually happens with David too, because he's in Hebron when he's first anointed and takes on his kingship. And 7 years later, it's like, no, really, he's king of Israel.
Right.
And then he gets
exactly. It's just like that. So a little bit about Samuel.
Okay.
He was the son of Hannah. And if you go back to Samuel 1, I just went through this year and I just read all the way through. Samuel 1 all the way to this week's Torah portion, just so I could get a good handle on who he was and what's going on. So Samuel, Hannah was barren, and she was one of 2 wives. Her husband had 2 wives. And she was barren, and she was crying at the tabernacle, and they thought she was drunk. But
and wasn't it? It was Eli, who already has problems, and then he's
Eli has the 2 sons who are completely misusing their position as future high priests, or
just as priests.
Yes, Eli was acting as the high priest, I believe, at the time, and so when Hannah she said, if you'll give me a son, I'll dedicate him to you. So she did. When the son was weaned, when Samuel was weaned, he went and stayed with Eli,
which is around
in
the
temple.
age of 4.
Okay, around the age of 4. And then you have the issue where he kept hearing in the middle of the night, his name.
Yeah.
And it was the Lord, but he kept thinking it was Eli.
And then finally Eli caught on and was like,
oh, it must be the Lord.
Yeah.
And then the Lord said all this terrible truth about Eli. And I say terrible because about his sons and how they're not going to prosper, and he's going to raise someone else up, and it's just, and then he had to tell him that.
But
tell Eli that.
Eli really handled that well.
He did. Well,
I was
of course,
impressed
if you
with
knew.
that.
Well, think about that now that we have adult children. If the Lord himself came and said, I'm sorry, but your kids are, and we'd probably be like, we know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean for someone else to come tell you this.
Yeah.
He's got a young kid who he's brought in who's now saying your kids are like this. It just, it's amazing.
But he knew it was from the Lord.
Yeah.
You know what I
right,
mean?
Yeah.
And he was a witness to that because he's like,
Wouldn't
he's
it
the
be
one that told
interesting
him, hear from the Lord.
If that's why the Lord did it so many times, so that Eli, it could be a testimony to Eli.
Yeah,
that,
and so he would
listen.
He would better accept.
Yeah, the report.
Now Samuel was dedicated to the Lord in a Nazirite vow.
Oh, okay.
All right, so
Oh my gosh, doesn't that make
not
sense?
shaven, not taking wine. He worked before the Lord all the time. Yes.
That's as close as to the priestly role one can get who's not a priest.
Oh,
So
yes.
it makes perfect sense that that's what he would be walking in that.
Oh, wow, how interesting. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
And the rest of Samuel up to this point is how he became the great leader. It says that he was the greatest judge that Israel ever had. And he was the judge right before Saul.
Yeah.
So I find that very interesting.
That is.
That he is not technically a priest, but as close to the priesthood as you can get.
Yeah.
And becomes the greatest judge in
yeah,
Israel
which is the
right
leader.
before Saul. Now where I'm going with this is kind of a pattern. The Lord did not want Saul to be the king.
Right.
Or at least that was not his plan.
Right.
He
was
did
just
want,
like
he is the one that anointed him.
He's
but
a time filler.
Yes. It's the people that wanted him. And here's the thing. See, the people had the Lord as their king.
Right.
Right? They had the Lord as their leader, and Samuel was their kind of go-between. He's the one that taught the right way, he didn't even make people come to him so much as he went. It says that he toured Israel once a year.
So did he
Helping in
kinda-
judgment and helping teach the ways of the Lord.
So was he kind of in a Moses role in the land?
He kind of was. He kind of was
That's
in the land Moses.
Moses, yeah.
Right. So it was very I don't want to say offensive, but it was very hurtful for Samuel when they're like, we want a king,
Oh.
we want a king.
Yeah, he took it personally.
Yes, the only reason they wanted a king was because their neighbor had a king.
Yeah.
That was the only reason they wanted a king. They're like, well, this guy is the one that makes all the decisions. We want a king over us to make all the decisions.
Right.
And Samuel's like, what do you think I am?
Yeah, I mean,
You
come
know,
on, the
that's-
living God is your king and
Right.
telling you what to do.
Right. All right, so where I really want to go with this was, most of you know the story of Saul and how, like I said, he was not God's choice for king. David
Right.
was God's choice, but they didn't want to wait, so they wanted a king now,
Right.
because they were being oppressed by the Philistines and some other outside influences. It was just constant, and they just wanted someone who would lead them, and that wasn't Samuel, I guess. So think about that today.
Okay.
All right, you have us who are all coming into Israel. It says that we're priests to the nations. We're a royal priesthood, right? So we're as close to the priest as you can actually get without actually being the priest.
Right, we're the heavenly priest.
The heavenly priest, right? And we're kind of the go-between. We're as far as our prayers going up,
Right, the incense.
the incense going up. And we're all doing what's right in our own eyes. We're trying to follow Torah the best we can, the same way they are here. So you have some Samuels out there. I'm not going to name any, but, you can think of those people that you like to watch in this movement, or that have YouTube videos or whatever, that you think, the Lord's really using them.
Right.
And the Lord is really anointing them to go out and to get people back into his ways.
Yeah.
That's what these judges were for. They were to rein the people back in to the correct way.
Yeah.
That's why they were the judges, because they were constantly bringing, disputes to them, so that was their job. But right before, so you have Samuel, who is acting as the greatest judge,
Right.
and then they get Saul, who's kind of like an antichrist.
Yeah,
right.
I
mean,
agree.
he's not the choice that they should have, but the next one they get is David.
And you know, the Lord still put him in that position.
Yes.
The Lord is going to put the Antichrist
In
the
that position,
Right.
but
not
it's going to be because we're like, King,
Yes.
we want a king, we want a king, we want a leader that's going to lead us. And I can almost see how the Messianic movement could almost even be like fooled with that.
Well, it
because
says
they
even the elite.
yes,
Not
even the
saying
elect,
That's elite.
elect,
Yeah, elect,
even
sorry.
the elect. Yeah, no, it's fine.
Yeah.
Even the elect.
E word.
Yeah, we don't want to be elitist.
I'm not elitist,
no, but
no.
even
Elect.
even the elect
Right.
would be deceived if it were possible. It makes me want to be very careful about looking and putting someone kind of on a pedestal. You may even do it without even know it, and want to raise someone up to be the leader, the great
Yeah.
leader of whatever this is.
Yeah, because even this week's Torah portion where Korah was talking about Moses being lifted up, he hit the ground.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, no.
Right.
Don't do that.
right. All right, so let's just jump into the Torah portion
Okay.
and see what's going on here. All right, so a little background leading up to it. Israel has just defeated the Philistines by the leadership of Saul. So Saul was coronated, but nobody took it seriously. They're all like, who's this guy thinks he's gonna lead us somewhere? But then he sent, he cut up his oxen that were yoked, and he sent it out to all the tribes and said, this is what's gonna happen to you if you don't help me defeat the Philistines. So they did, and he came up with a plan, and his plan worked beautifully. They defeated them. So now here we are. Samuel's like, okay, since Saul has good favor with everyone, now let's go ahead and coronate you again.
Okay.
This time he did it in Gilgal, which this is not the same Gilgal that Joshua named when they came in. That's down by the Jordan, down where by Jericho, where they came in. This is up by Shiloh. It's 4 miles south. All right, so Cam just looked up the word Gilgal, and it means skull or head.
That the root does.
The root for Gilgal means skull or head. So the root is Golgotha. That's where Golgotha comes from.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So if he's crowned there at the head, right? Well, then we have Yeshua, who, not the way we think it should look, is on Golgotha, right?
Right.
Which is the head. He's
being coronated as well.
yeah, but
Going
that
in,
way.
Right. All right, so here we have in 11:14 it says, and Samuel said to the people, come and let us go to Gilgal and renew the reign there. And all the people went to Gilgal, and there they set up Saul to reign before Yahweh in Gilgal, and there they slaughtered slaughterings of peace offerings before Yahweh, and there Saul rejoiced, and all the men of Israel very greatly. All right, so now we see that they've all accepted Saul.
Okay.
So they're like, yes,
It's official.
Yes, it's official. You're the king, and they're rejoicing greatly, and it's wonderful. And then Samuel decides to plead his case. And so the rest of the Torah portion is Samuel pleading his case that, okay, fine, I can see this is what the Lord wants. I don't think it's a good idea. The Lord doesn't even think it's a good idea. This is a sin before the Lord. And he's pleading his case just so Yahweh and the people can witness that he was a good guy. I mean,
Right.
I don't know what else to say.
So it's not
there was nothing that he did that it was what the people wanted.
Right. So it's not that the Lord wanted this, it's that the Lord allowed it.
Yes.
Two different things.
Yes, because I believe for a pattern.
Yes.
For a pattern of what's
absolutely.
happening right now, for a pattern
What's
of
happened multiple
before.
times.
Yes, it's just a pattern. It's the people get impatient, they build a golden calf, and then they get the Ark of the Covenant. The people get impatient, they want a king, they get Saul, then they get David. The people are impatient, getting impatient now. Between us and between Israel, we're getting a little impatient. We're going to get an Antichrist, and then we're going to get Yeshua.
Yeah.
That's just the pattern, and that's just how it's going to go.
Yeah. And it's always darkest before dawn. I mean,
Yes.
it's that moment where, like, it just can't be, it's got to be now. And then we missed it. I did mob rule. I bring this up because that's what's happening here. That's what happened with the 10 spies. Mob rule, all excited. Let's get rid of Moses. I mean, so that's the same frenzy that will happen
Right.
when he's brought up.
Yeah.
And everyone feeds off everyone instead of stopping and going, wait, what does this say?
Right, exactly. And I just want to say one thing, okay, as he's pleading his case here, he's like, I never stole from you. Did I ever take an oxen?
Right.
It's believed that he didn't even accept gifts for his services. That he just... What?
I was laughing.
Oh.
I didn't know that was in there. That's the exact same wording that Moses says.
Oh.
He's like,
I thought you were looking at something over there.
I never took even
Right.
an ox or a donkey from them.
Yes, that's why this Torah portion hooks with that one. And because the people weren't accepting who God anointed for a position.
Right.
But you have the same thing happening here. So Samuel's like, look, it's believed that he never accepted any kind of payments, that he provided his own donkey to travel, his own money to travel around. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. It's just some of the sages say that. But the point is, he didn't...
Well, he's making a point of it.
Yeah, well, he means like as a bribe. Because he says
gotcha.
that. I never took any bribes. In other words, what he's saying here, the case that he's pleading here is, look, I never did anything unfair.
Right.
I never gave you special treatment because you gave me this greater gift, and I
Right.
never gave you bad treatment because you didn't give me anything.
Right.
No matter what, I never took any
He's
bribes.
represented the Lord
He has
appropriately.
represented the Lord appropriately. And he makes a point to say in 6, it is Yahweh who appointed Moses and Aaron and who brought your fathers up out of the land of Egypt. Then you go down in 11 and he says, and Yahweh sent Yehubabel, that's Gideon.
Thank you.
and Baden and Jephthah and Samuel himself, and delivered you out of the hand of your enemies around about, and you dwelt in safety. In other words, he's saying the Lord's the one that appointed us.
Right.
We're not anything because the Lord's the one who did it. We were just his mouthpieces, and we were just his vessels in which to do it. Yahweh is your true king.
Right.
And after he pled his case of, you respect Moses and Aaron, but Yahweh's the one that was behind it. You respect me, but Yahweh's the one that's behind it. Gideon, but Yahweh's the one that's behind it. Always looking to Yahweh being the king.
Right.
Same thing here. Even Yeshua, when he was on earth, no, it's not me. It's about the Father. It's about the Father. Always pointing to the Father. Because once we try to disconnect that
Good word.
and say, then we can just make Jesus or Yeshua into whatever we want.
Right.
Because they're not connected. Same thing with Saul. See, Saul became something that did not properly represent the Lord because it is someone the Lord put there, but it wasn't his choice.
Right.
It wasn't David who was in the wings waiting.
And I wonder if a part of that too is the Lord knew of course the Lord knew, but what I mean is not picking him because if you put this person in this situation, this is going to be the outcome.
Right.
If you put David in this situation, this will be the outcome.
Right.
Knowing that, it's almost by the mercy of God going, I don't want to put Saul there.
Right.
Because he's not going to end well.
Yes. It's like someone needs to control the money at church. So you don't want to put someone there who's always had trouble with stealing or, they're trying to overcome those things. You don't want to put someone in that position. Well, why don't we put you over the money and leave you alone? You want to put someone who has constantly shown integrity in handling properly.
Yeah.
That's why in the millennium, it's only certain people that get to rule and reign with him.
Right.
They had to have properly shown that they can handle. Otherwise, you're going to have this all over again.
Right. Great point.
In 18, I want to bring this up because this is kind of funny. So, and Samuel called to Yahweh, and Yahweh sent thunder and rain that day, and all the people greatly feared Yahweh and Samuel. Okay, well, this is why that's so funny. If you go read 1 Samuel 7:10, the way that the Philistines were defeated was the Lord sent great thunder and loud noises, and they scattered. And not one was left. And that was after Samuel prayed.
Yeah.
Well, after Samuel prayed here, the Lord sent it on Israel. So they're like, oh my God, we're going to die.
Uh-huh.
That was their next reaction because that's what happened to the Philistines.
Right.
Now here you are doing it to us.
Yeah.
Oh no, Samuel, don't ever stop praying for us. And Samuel says something very interesting. In 23, this is going a little past, but I think this is worth noting. It says, also, as for me, far be it from me that I should sin against Yahweh in ceasing to pray for you.
Huh.
It was a sin for him to stop praying for them.
That was his role.
Commissioned to, yes. His role was always to intercede, even if they didn't want it.
Yeah. Wow. Now there's
I
a
know.
great example of Messiah.
Yes, it is. It's an awesome example of Messiah. I was talking to someone today. We were just talking about the Lord, and I didn't even know how it came up, but I said, man, I mean, can you imagine Yeshua on the cross pleading and forgiving the very people who just betrayed him in the way that they just betrayed him? I mean, ultimately, that's like, we're like, somebody cuts us off on the road, and we're like, who do you think you are?
Yeah.
We get that inside of us. Can you imagine? I'm coming to save you, and they,
Say no thank you.
not only that, but I'm going to kill you.
Yeah.
You came to save me from death, but I'm going to kill you instead. I mean, I just can't even imagine what that must have been like. All right, so let's look at 23. So 23 is where he says, I will never cease in praying for you, but I shall teach you the good and straight way. Then he says, only fear Yahweh, and you shall serve him in truth with all your heart, for consider what marvels he has done for you. So he says all through here, look, the Lord's going to be with you, and he's going to be with your King Saul as long as you fear Yahweh and walk in his ways, and as long as the king fears Yahweh and walk in his ways. Thank goodness we have a king. The next king that we get to experience, hope not the Antichrist, but the true King of Kings fits this perfectly and will never stray from this. He's already proven up to death to be obedient.
Yeah. When you look at who Eli is, you look at what's happening in the priesthood, as we talked about this week's portion, if they weren't keeping that, then this
the
is
rest
the way
of the people.
Right, it fell apart. And here's a great example of that.
Yes.
What happens to the rest of Israel because they weren't.
I mean, when you read Samuel, his sons, Eli's sons, were having sex with women in the temple.
Yeah, I mean,
in the courtyard.
And eating all the time. And
yes.
Eli was taking
and
advantage of the offerings.
Yes, and the thing is, they despised the offerings.
Right.
They despised the very things that was supposed to nourish them. I don't know. I mean, there's so many lessons that we, as priests to the nations, the royal priesthood, can learn from this, because the physical always represents the spiritual. So I don't know, I would highly recommend go read it. It's really interesting to see all the patterns of where we're at right now and leading up to what's coming, the Antichrist. Before we get Messiah, they got Saul. Before they get David, and it's just, I don't know, it's just so interesting.
A great example.
Because I do see this Messianic movement, everyone's doing what's right in their own eyes. The more people out from our little group that I talk to, of course we're united, but there are different opinions. There are different theologies and certain things that aren't Torah related. Does that make sense?
Yeah, they're not a salvation issue.
Right, they're not a
Torah
salvation issue, but you can see where that could either divide you or unite you. So we have to be very careful that we always use the word to go back to.
Right.
In everything that we do. All right, well, that's all I have for you for this week, for episode 100. Ooh, it was a good one. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week with episode 101.
What?
And maybe we'll have some balloons or confetti for that one, but we were too busy getting ready for this storm. I was at the store getting water and all this, whatever.
Is this like Doc Talk 101? That's how I'm doing next week.
Hi, welcome to Doc Talk 101. That's funny. All right, well, we will see you next week. We hope you have a fantastic week. Shalom.